And welcome back. This is Pete Dahlgren, and we're building the Mirror Smiles F86. Now, I opted a long time ago to add a few really cool things like a sliding canopy into this, along with the speed brakes and things. But now I'm doing some body work, getting this thing ready to flip over and do it, so I can get this thing in fiberglass and start the main detailing. But there are things in this airplane that need to be built into it for details in order to get the details that I want. And I don't like doing stuff kind of backwards, but then again, this is what looks a lot better to me than a straight canopy glued. Now, my intention here is, and this is an alignment tab that I used to clamp this so that I could get this to line up beautiful. Now, I'm going to laminate another piece of 30 seconds over there. This is curing, then I'm going to sand this, and then I'll get this. This is going to line my canopy up beautifully. And then the thing will sit on here. These two pieces will sit on here, and the canopy will actually get cut. What I will do next is actually put in a strip into here, just like on the real thing, and then I will cover the canopy with flight metal. Now, the one thing I am doing preliminarily is I am going to use the fiberglass canopy parts that Mears has and ordered another one. But what I'm doing is I'm sacrificing a canopy for this to show you, but I'm still going to be able to use this frame. And this frame, it works flawlessly. But to get some of these details, you got to kind of be looking in where they're at. Now, I looked on the real one, and it does. The real one, it hangs over, just like that. Now, how I did this, I'm going to show you a beginning of what it looks like to what it is going to be like that. And as you can see, with the lineal servo in this thing, it's going to be cool. When it's taxiing, it's actually going to look really neat. And I am going to be putting a couple guides across here. And these are just things that are just details, and they'll actually work. They'll actually be on a pendulum in here, and they'll actually move with it. The real one doesn't do that, but when it's open, you're not going to know. And the main thing is to go and put a canopy in here. It's almost a crime not to put a sliding canopy on there. So this is work that is, in my opinion, very worthwhile doing. And this is nothing more than Bondo. It'll be more than sufficient and strong enough. And I will cover it with some 1-ounce cloth just to make sure that it's got a little bit of weave in there to hold it together. But as you can see, there's no more gap when it closes. It actually is true to form. And that's the way the real one actually does look. When it's open and closed, it's not showing anything. Now I'm going to show you the other side, because I only sanded half of this and did one side of it so I could show you the difference. I'm still working on it, and I'll show updates as it is done. So we'll walk to the other side of the airplane, and oh my God, I'm just about ready to fall over. Some people would get their garbage out of the way, mainly me. Anyway, as you can see, this also shows the alignment tab that I use in here. And you'll notice this frame is the only one that goes all the way through. The rest of them have been cut off with the exception of this one and the very back. Now, this and all this is just preliminary built. I used the original frames on there to make sure that they lined up. I just cut them off, and then after I actually built and put a strip across this strip on here, this was just to keep it in alignment. Then I took and I sheeted the bottom. Now there is a brace that goes right here. This line shows exactly where this brace is going to sit, and it is functional. And then I'll put the beacon and all the other stuff, the vent pump and all this other crap, and goes in there, and I'll get it done. But as you can see, when you look at the side of the airplane, it looks pretty basic and pretty boring. Now this will get a deal, and this is how I'm going to line my canopies, is that the canopy, this needs a sheeting done like this has been done. And then all this stuff, and don't laugh at my Bondo, I got a little hot on there, but I had to fill it quite a bit. And I'll explain that a little bit later because it's not what I'm talking about right now. But anyway, it's as far as the hatch goes and all these other little things, all these little areas here need to be formed so it's actually true like the real one. It's like I said, it moves just awesomely. And it will just, and in case you were wondering, yes, it does come off, and that's how much it actually does overhang to get it. Now you'll notice there's a little bit of flash underneath that, and I'm not worried about it, because this will all get kind of treated just a little bit more. And then I used plastic, of all things, to go on here to mold it to the side here. And I'll do it again here. But this is the mechanism. It's 2 pieces of spruce. It's got some plywood for guides on here, and then everything just kind of touches on here, and then I have 2 pieces that slide in there to lock it down. It's removable. It is not flimsy once everything else is in it, and that's what we want. And there's no chance that it will come out unless I remove it. And it will be removable with 2 bolts. So, I think some of the biggest things with doing a lot of this work is having a plan for what you're going to do. Now, I've been planning on going to Lakeland with this airplane ever since I started. So I want some details that are going to be cool. And right now, building the details in before we start doing a lot of glassing makes a lot of sense to me. So I'm just doing it. Now I have been doing body work and getting this, so this is nice and perfectly rounded. I'm not done over here, but this is just Bondo. That's all I'm using. And I like the stuff for the reason is you don't want to over sand your fuselage. I can't emphasize that enough. If you go out to where I would have sanded it this way and that way, well, that's fine, but you get it thinner in a 30-second, and you can go in there and like this, you don't want to be able to push any soft spots. You do that, you're ruining the composition of your airplane. Getting a basic sand over here after you beveled and everything correctly, that's good. But a little bit of print, guys, you can see through it. It's not that much. It's just barely on there. And then the fiberglass accepts it. It doesn't come delaminated, and it just gives it just that much more rigidity than just glassing it, then bondoing it. I don't like doing it that way. It's my preference not to do it that way. So anyway, I use body fillers exclusively to build small details and stuff because it's easy to work with and you can actually form it. And if you are really inventive, I've seen guys actually make cast parts that they've actually done. They'll squeeze that stuff in there. It's good. But you want to be careful doing too much of it because you're going to add a lot of weight. And the thing is, I've used not very much. As a matter of fact, most of it's right there. But, like I said, you can see through the filler. But I'm particular about how I do this. And I don't put a lot on. I just put enough in to get its attention and then get it. Because I will fix everything after I glass this airplane. I use a 2K primer, and then what I will do with it is actually go in and I will block it, I will prime it again, and I'll get that weave filled if it needs it. But I'll show you all this when we get to that point, and that's going to be a couple weeks out. We still got the bottom of the airplane to sheet. We're almost done. With this, we got wings to do. But I want to start getting all these parts done because they're going to get dinged. And that's one of the biggest reasons we glass them anyways. Keep that crap from happening. Hanging rash is unavoidable. And it's just not something you're going to get away with. So glassing it is going to keep that from happening so much. Now, what I'm going to show you here is a little bit on this. This is what's cool to me, is that when you can see this actually start to work and actually go together as it's done. This, I actually saw this on the real airplane. It does actually hang down. And if you want to go with the F2 Fury, it goes down even more so. And it's got a different shape. Of course, the F2, the Fury, now the others have a whole different windshield altogether. And you could actually build that out of here and take the windshield and cut it sloped if you really wanted to do that. But I'm not going to do it. I was going to go with that because of the landing gear situation, but I've got that resolved. And that's another special surprise I'm going to show you guys. And we're going to be talking with Lenny at Schindler Machine that it will actually, if there's enough of you out there that can come up there and buy this airplane and order the retracts from him, he will actually make the retracts for this airplane. Similar to what anybody else does. And he can actually get the rotating front wheel. It might be tricky, but he's got new machines that he can actually do it. If it's cost effective, I'll do it. If not, I'm going to run Bowtech C50s. I don't care if the front wheel rotates or not, because you don't see it unless it's on the ground and you retract it. You're not going to see it. And we also got some guys that are going to be printing some special parts and brakes and all kinds of stuff for this airplane as well. And these will be readily available to any of you that come out that actually are building the Mears airplanes. And it's kind of one of these really cool things that come along. But as you can see, with this all set in there like this airplane is starting to begin to really take a lot of its characteristics of the F-86. I have not decided yet whether I want to put the tail hook in it and make it an F2, which would be a Navy version. And being a Navy veteran, I'm kind of leaning that way a little bit. It's still the Mears model's F-86, but there's not a whole hell of a lot of F2 Furies that are actually out there. And I'm kind of leaning towards being a little bit on the wild side and moving that landing gear up forward just a little bit. But I got to talk to Diamano about that and make sure it's not going to hurt anything to have a little bit longer nose gear, which is the difference. But the one beautiful thing about the F2 is that the landing gear didn't rotate on the F2. And it was a lot longer, had a lot smaller wheels, and it had a really unique looking door design on it, which is it didn't require a lot. So there's things I'm thinking about doing while I'm in here. There's a couple little added on vents that go on the side. There's a tail skid that comes down on the back here, and there's a tail hook that comes down, but I think I can pull it off. And if I do, this thing is going to be painted in the Navy version. So that is if I can remodify that nose gear or make it actually plausible. It needs to come forward just a little bit. And I don't think it's going to be too big of an issue to do. And once we flip it over, we'll look it over and we'll see if that is something that really can actually be feasibly done. And if it does, then I'm going to revamp this, and I'm going to get the longer deck, which will come out almost up to here, and it'll sweep. So I'm almost considering doing the F2 conversion on it. It's basically the same airplane, a couple little minor differences. But you know what? That's why we build these things. We get creative. And that kicks ass. I don't care what you say. So, we'll see you in the funny papers, boys and girls. Thanks for watching.